Dollar, that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sow. Hey, hey, well, let me tell you something. All that
Had a dream not to save the world, but to save other unhoused, disabled mamas and little girls. You see, I was that baby with my mama, holding that sign, the one you turned away from, pretending I wasn't alive. Grew up with mama, her and me almost made it through the poverty, racism, houselessness drama. Hustle for food, never had the rent, until mama said, chase that dream, write a grant, take a chance. You got skills, Tiny. You can do the grant dance. Yeah, you see, we the philanthro-pimps. You a sexy young thing with at least one grant cycle we can exploit. Just come and sniff a little of this grant guidelines oil. You can do whatever you want, but always do what we say. So happy, created a job for my uncle, houseless friends, and my mama. Wow, self-determination, liberation works and dreams, helping each other. And then, what you ain't doing what we say? You aren't reporting on each other when you late every day? Keep those feet up, the philanthro-pimps say. That grant right run out. 'Cause, well, you ain't sexy anymore anyway. Yeah, that part. So today's podcast from a poverty scholar is dedicated to all the truth tellers, action walkers, never stop, can't stop, revolutionary poverty scholars who innovate, liberate, and activate, but aren't always seen, heard, understood, or overstood, and therefore are easily pimped, opted, stolen from, and never quoted. I'm talking about liberators like the Poor People's Army, Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, Crip Hop Nation, Where Do We Go, Berkeley, and First They Came for the Homeless. I'm talking about Move 9 when it was happening, not now when it's glamorized. Yeah. I'm talking about people who do the work, with or without the blood-stained dollars, fame, and UN racketeers. I'm talking about the Mad Housers in Georgia, Crip Hop in Senegal. I'm talking about Tara Colon and Lisa Richards in Florida. I'm talking about Papa Bear. And so many poor and houseless workers never seen by all you peoples who supposedly are there to save us. I'm talking about the International Hotel and Pearl Ubungin. I'm talking about Nino Parker and his unsanctioned encampment. I'm talking about People's Community Medics and the Idris Stelly Foundation. I'm talking about indigenous nations who've been here caring for Mama Earth long before 350.org and everyone else decided to take up climate change. I'm talking about refinery walks and Idle No More San Francisco and Penny Opal Plant. I'm talking about us here at Homefulness, trying to unsell Mama Earth, trying to teach wealth hoarders how to unhoard, people who don't need a savior, a charity project, a pimp or institution, but instead we need solidarity, family, who stand with a poor people-led revolution, who understand and overstand that we are never needed to be talked about without, opted, stolen, lied about, or gentrified. I'm talking about so-called movements that use all the right language so they sound like us, look like us, be like us, because it was stolen from us, but thinned out to be more palatable and easily understood, more user-friendly and digestible than those of us from the hood. I'm talking about academia and non-profiteers profiting, talking, and walking about us without us. To give people terrifying examples of this process, let me take you down the Philanthro-pimped road. These stories and journeys that must be exposed. One is the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, a powerful poor mama-led movement in Philadelphia, where Mama D is from, launched as the Kensington Welfare Rights Union, that was activating and lifting up the work of poor folks since the 1980s, lifting up and reactivating the work of Dr. Martin Luther King and the Poor People's March until the Ford Foundation came in and stole and opted all of their work and words and turned it into a massive middle-class-led, non-profiteered campaign using ideas, work, and time suffered in real time by real poverty scholars for a well-funded, well-oiled Ford Foundation machine. If anyone else did this, it would just be theft. But there's a massive money and institutional access behind these moves. So us po folks just opted and left out. The opted, thinned out message then becomes the public message with both independent, air quotes, and corporate media covering it, reporting on it, and the fix is in. Its sanctioning and legitimizing continues as AKKdemia takes up the charge. Now are the reports and studies, research generated and cited, and suddenly the innovators, the liberators, the actual oppressed peoples who lived through the struggle, activated the change. Well, we're no longer even there. We're just fodder for the campaign. The philanthropimps can't take all the credit for killing our movements. They're just the machines of capitalism, which always needs a new market. So it's very important for people to forget the bloody herstory and history and the originators and the resistors. It's very important for people to have a short-term memory and lift up what is new, read redone, remixed, and repackaged so that the new campaigns can create new jobs with new payrolls and new media and new headlines and new profits. This is where it gets complicated and confusing because people are hired, and many of them are themselves poor folks, POCs who need a job, who want to work for something that means something, who themselves have no knowledge of the herstory and history, the struggle that came before. But real talk, just have to pay the rent. So maybe our selective herstory is easier than looking underneath. Another example is the UN racketeers, rappeteers. When they came to town, Hopefulness is over here since 2011. A group of homeless and formerly homeless poverty scholars trying to build housing, supporting, reporting, and constantly lifting up the voices of unhoused folks on the street. So all of us can build, launch our own homefulness movements. But nary a word, an interview, a visit, a footnote in their several thousand-page report on homelessness. No, we were completely left out. First from a nonprofit and academia-heavy panel, and then the report. And then from a cherry-picked, non-profiteered tour of poverty and homelessness, which enabled a lens that left private wealth hoarders and indigenous and poor people-led self-determination completely out and separate from the narrative on homelessness as, let's be real, there is no grant funding, jobs, or non-profiteers involved in these projects. In other words, there's no money to be made on self-determination. Another sad example of this by media and academia was the gentrification of journalism, of a long-time people of color newspaper in the Mission by a cutesy, well-oiled UC Berkeley staffed online magazine that basically used and opted the newspaper's audience, lens, and message. This process was hardly documented except by badass revolutionaries, the San Francisco Bayview newspaper, Block Report Radio, and Poor Magazine. Yeah, but all that's ever seen is what's there now. The academics, corporate, nonprofit, and philanthropimps are all in for the money game. But what makes it much harder, and where today's podcast from a Poverty Scholar challenge is directed, is at the fellow liberators and movement folks out there who know better and can do better. In the work to live into being another world, we all need each other, fam. And doing that, we need to respect, lift up, and appreciate each other, even if we don't always see eye to eye. This is done through horizontal love, lifting up, shouts out, sharing and caring of media, resources, and bylines. As Homies Empowerment right here on Black Arthur have been launching their beautiful Freedom Store, we are committed from the beginning to lift them up, love them up, and sing them up. To do the same with all other grassroots groups, to honor the land liberation and radical redistribution work of all the warriors like Poor People's Army, PPHRC, People Community Medics, Segurite Land Trust, Where Do We Go Berkeley, Consider the Homeless, the beautiful folks and family at Self-Help Hunger Program. First they came for the homeless and East Oakland Collective, and to remember that all land liberation must be always led by the first peoples who suffered the first form of removal and gentrification, a.k.a. all indigenous peoples to this land. From the beginning of this COVID-19 crisis, we at Poor Magazine have been working so hard to make sure everyone who's already there, who is already standing up, is held and loved, respected and seen. Another beautiful example of this kind of love work, instead of covetous, I got mines moves, is the beautiful peoples at Disability Culture Club, United Front Against Displacement, Anti-Police Terror Project, and Community Ready Corps, who from the beginning of this crisis made a point of reaching out to Poor Magazine with supplies to share, media to share, and love to share. Ford Foundation creating a new plantation. Poor people in the fields picking cotton. Some picked to be the house Negroes to get that grant dough. My beautiful brother in the struggle and co-founder of Homefulness and Crip Hop Nation, Leroy Moore, from his recent piece, Solutions That Aren't Tied to a Grant, Foundation Grant. And for academia and media examples, the beautiful work of Jared Ball from I Mix What I Like, Susan Schweik, Cecilia Lucas from UC Berkeley, who from the beginning have made a point of not stealing, not opting, not talking about us without us, but rather launching education movements like Creating Freedom Movement and books like The Ugly Laws and The Myth of Black Buying Power. The powerful folks at the First Congregational Church and Surge Bay Area who have made a point of listening, lifting up, and loving. Beautiful Nicola Tarbit, to Paige and Yael, to all the powerful solidarity family of Poor Magazine. I'm not calling out peoples or organizations. That would be more horizontal hater politics. But I will say, in the process to live into being a different way, we need to stop perpetrating more opting and stealing, rock star leading, scarcity modeling, and exclusion narratives. We need to lift up each other in all of our beautiful hard work, frontline work, so we can actually end capitalism and actually build a different world, not just a different paycheck.
It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load. I need a dollar, that's what I need. Well, I need a dollar, that's what I need. Well, I don't know if I'm walking on solid ground, 'cause everything around me is falling down. And all I want is for someone to help me. I had a job, but the boss man let me go. He said, I'm sorry, but I won't be